In 1982, a 24-year-old actress walked onto a San Fernando Valley film, set to play one of literature's most controversial characters. Her real name has been lost to history. Her stage name was scrubbed from promotional materials, and within 3 years of this production, she would vanish from the industry entirely, not because of scandal, but because of fear. The film was The Erotic Adventures of Lolita, and it wasn't just another adaptation of Nabokov's infamous novel. It was a production so legally dangerous that the director's cut was hidden. The ending was reshot with a different actress, and everyone involved spent the next decade hoping no one would ask questions. What happened to the woman at the center of this doomed production? And why did a film that was supposed to elevate the industry instead become a cautionary tale that ended careers? This is her story. To understand why this role destroyed lives, you need to understand who was making films in 1982. The golden age was dead. By the early 80s, the theatrical porno chic era had collapsed under the weight of home video and Ronald Reagan's Justice Department. Adult cinema was splitting into two worlds: cheap productions shot in 3 days for the VHS rental market, and a dying breed of filmmakers who still believed they could make art. Director Joseph W. Sarno belonged to the second camp. He wasn't your typical adult film director. Sarno had come up through European exploitation cinema in the 1960s, working alongside directors who would later be studied in film schools. He'd made features in Sweden, Germany, and across the American underground circuit films, with 3-act structures, psychological depth, and budgets that actually paid for proper lighting. When Caballero Control Corporation approached him about adapting Nabokov's Lolita as an adult feature, Sarno saw it as his masterpiece. His chance to prove that mature cinema could tackle literature the way Kubrick had in 1962, but without the censorship, without the compromises. He was warned by multiple colleagues to walk away. The subject matter was a legal minefield. One prosecutor with an agenda could destroy everyone involved. But Sarno believed he could thread the needle. He believed he could make art. He was wrong. The casting process took 4 months, and it was a nightmare. Sarno needed someone who could carry Nabokov's complex characterization while satisfying legal requirements that went far beyond normal age verification. She needed to be provably over 21, but able to portray youth without triggering obscenity statutes. She needed acting ability, because Sarno was planning long dialogue scenes adapted directly from the novel. Most established performers refused to audition. The role was too dangerous, the title too radioactive. One actress who read for the part told an industry trade magazine, "I'd rather do a snuff film rumor than touch this script." The woman who finally accepted the role, we'll call her by her credited stage name, though even that's disputed, was relatively new to the industry. She'd appeared in less than a dozen features, mostly smaller productions. She was 24 years old, college-educated, and according to crew members, genuinely excited about working with Sarno. She saw this as her breakout role. Filming began in July 1982 across 3 weeks in the Valley. Sarno pushed for authenticity in ways that made everyone nervous. He used Nabokov's actual dialogue in scenes, creating a cognitive dissonance that crew members described as deeply unsettling. He filmed long static takes where the camera simply observed, forcing viewers to sit with the implications of what they were watching. The lead actress gave everything to the performance. Production documents mention her working with Sarno on character motivation, discussing the psychology of coercion and survival that underpins Nabokov's text. One crew member later recalled, "She wasn't playing a fantasy. She understood she was playing a tragedy." And that scared people. What happened next destroyed the film and the woman who starred in it. 3 weeks after principal photography wrapped, the production company's legal team delivered an ultimatum. The film couldn't be released as shot. The narrative structure was too faithful to Nabokov, making it too easy for prosecutors to argue the film was deliberately evoking underage scenarios. Entire sequences had to be removed. The ending had to be reshot. But here's where it gets dark. The production company decided they couldn't bring back the original actress for reshoots. According to one producer, quoted anonymously in an adult industry oral history project, her performance was the problem. She'd made it too real. "We needed someone who looked like they were having fun." They hired a different actress to film a new framing device, a bookend, where an older woman recounts the story as a cautionary tale. They inserted this footage to create moral distance, to argue the film was condemning rather than depicting. The original actress's performance was reduced from 95 minutes to roughly 50 minutes of screen time, and even that was re-edited to remove the scenes where her acting was most powerful. She was never told about the changes. According to her roommate at the time, she learned her scenes had been cut when she saw the film at a Los Angeles screening in November 1982. She walked out halfway through and never returned to the industry. Joseph W. Sarno was equally devastated. He'd retained a work print of his original assembly, the full 9 5-minute cut, with the actress's complete performance intact. He reportedly screened it once for colleagues, then locked it away, telling people the theatrical version was an act of vandalism against his lead actress's work. The film opened quietly in December 1982. It played for 2 weeks in 3 cities, then vanished. Unlike virtually every adult film of that era, it was never heavily promoted to home video. The title and subject matter made it too risky. Her name appeared in early promotional materials, then it disappeared. A 1985 magazine interview briefly mentioned her. When asked what happened, a former co-star said, "She wanted out after that Nabokov thing," said she felt erased, and that's exactly what happened. Her performance was cut in half. Her strongest scenes were removed. Her name slowly vanished from reference materials. When Sarno died in 2010, there was no record of where the original 9 5-minute work print went, or if it even survived. What remains is a fractured 7 2-minute theatrical cut. Not unwatchable because of content, but because you can feel what's missing. Reaction shots that lead nowhere, emotional beats without payoff, dialogue that clearly once existed but doesn't anymore. The film feels haunted. Preservation groups have shown no interest in restoring it. The subject matter makes funding impossible. And even if the original cut resurfaced, who would distribute it? After 1983, there's no public trace, no interviews, no return, no acknowledgement this chapter ever existed. She stepped away, and the industry let her disappear. The film quietly ended literary ambition in adult cinema. Studios abandoned serious adaptations. No more risk, no more depth. Prosecutors were watching, and audiences wanted escape, not discomfort. Sarno returned to safer European productions. He never attempted anything this bold again. When asked about the film later in life, he would only say, "I'm sorry for what happened to her." Her disappearance meant more than one failed production. She gave a performance too serious for the market, too complex for the moment, too dangerous for the era. And for that, she was erased. Those who saw the original cut said her work was haunting in its honesty, which is exactly why it didn't survive. This film marks the moment ambition became impossible. Within 2 years, the industry shifted to fast home video production. 2-day shoots, minimal scripts, no risk. Films like this stopped being made, but the real loss wasn't the movie. It was the performer. She believed she was part of something meaningful. Instead, her work was cut down and buried. Sarno kept one photo from the set on his desk until he died. The lead actress, alone, reading Nabokov between takes. A quiet reminder of what was lost. If you know what happened to her, researchers would truly want to document it. No performer deserves to be erased. When an industry collapses, who pays the higher price? The director who loses his vision or the actress who trusted him? Let me know in the comments.